Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Phillips. I am the Chief Financial Officer of this great institution, which is called Integrated University. It's good to be in here with all of you today. I know what y'all are waiting for, the report of the financial status of the university. It's good to have representatives of different departments here and people from the community here as well. I'm glad to see students here as well as people from administration, as well as faculty, as well as the staff here today. Uh, the main thing I know what y'all want to know what is the financial picture of Anywhere University. I know it's been up and down here lately, but I can say for the fiscal year December 2016 to December 2017, we are in a red. We have a great financial uh, picture for Anywhere University. And since we are a public university, it is more important that we survive than ever because we have an extra advantage over private school because we are state funded. So a lot of times, as compared to other institutions across the nation, we are doing well because there is a crisis in the funding of universities and colleges across the United States, and that I know that's of concern to you, of anybody, because many of you love this university. Now, as we wonder but don't get your high hopes up, because we always need to study and research the bad side and the good side of a university as far as finances. Because without good finances, we won't have good governance of the university. That is part of the good governance of the university. Now, I want to talk to you about some articles that's concerning the crisis in in America over financing of colleges in the United States, as well as some good presidents that have done well. We'll talk about some presidents that have some characteristics of the presidents that have done well as far as keeping the financial first of the institution alive and well. Now, first of all, I'd like to go and say, since there is a crisis in state funding of higher education institutions, and many institutions have resorted to raising tuition, cutting out programs, and other budget cuts because of the decrease of funding of higher education. I would like to speak on the problems of funding education and the ways to continue funding education. Now, according to the article entitled The Impact of Financial Pressures on Governments by Susan Price, today many colleges and universities find themselves with structural deficits that have an impact on their ability to thrive and in some instances even to survive. Although there have always been institutions that at various points in their history have suffered from constrained resources, what is different today, according to Moody, is that most of the sector is in financial jeopardy. For example, in January 2012, Moody gave a stable outlook only to the diversified market leading colleges and universities with strong market positions and balance sheets and multiple revenue generate businesses line. Perhaps even more important, Moody's has given a negative outlook for the bulk of rated colleges and universities, which are far more dependent on state appropriation, student tuition, or both. I'd like to go also say is that there are many problems across the nation, but in funding university and college, but there are also success stories. And the success stories are saying that the main way to keep your college open and stable in the finance is to have multiple revenues coming in. Now, Susan Pierce goes on to say financial deficits on campus often stem from declining enrollments increases in the percentage of tuition dollars that are dedicated to financial aid in an effort to enroll and retain the desired number of students, shortfalls in anticipated gifts, decreases in the size of the endowment, smaller than anticipated income from the endowment, or some in a combination of these. The 2008 economic downturn magnified these problems. So did the fact that so many institutions in the past decade borrowed heavily, often incurred significant great debt service than they had in the past. Now, a lot of this is of concern because a lot of time they look like a lot of these institutions are putting all their eggs in one basket, depending on financial aid to pull them out of their debt and govern the finances, or they have endowments that they done invested into risky investment and they come out with a low return. So that's one of the reasons other reasons why there are problems with the financial affairs of many colleges and universities. And the economic downturn certainly made it worse. Now, I would like to also talk about, since we are a state funded institution, I would like to also talk about the fact that there's a decline in state funding, and this is a concern to a lot of people. Uh, Many people are worried about that and very concerned about that. And so I like to go into an article titled "The Determinant of State Spending in Our Higher Education" by Eric Nesbitt and David Tonders. It's on page 330. The gross higher education spending, and this article says the gross higher education spending for all 50 states totaled 10.3 billion in 2009, and which is 13% of state government fund appropriations. This annual expenditure on capital projects equates to nearly $700 per student enrolled in a public higher institution. Analysts, however, rarely account for this significant subsidy in their examination of state higher education finance, which $700 per student in a public university is a significant. It might not be significant in a private university, but it is significant in a state-funded institution such as us. In fact, much more scholarly attention. Nancy and Thomas go on to say, in fact, much more scholarly attention has been paid to states per students with no need and merit scholarships, and the implication on a range of higher education objectives and missions. Yet states spent roughly the same amount in 2009 on higher education capital ventures and on student aid. Granted, capital spending on higher education has a far less direct impact on college affordability and access than student financial aid. Nevertheless, with the same level of increasingly scarce state resources being allocated to higher education, state capital projects and empirical examination of these expenditures seems long overdue. In addition to the gross amount of state capital spending, higher education is a sector that represents a significant share of state capital expenditures. Other than transportation, higher education represents the largest sector for state capital projects, with despite a 2.5% decrease in 2009, represents like more than 12% of total state capital spending. Moreover, in the aggregate, states spend more than 5 times as much on higher education projects as they do corrections, which received a $1.81 billion in 2009. In many states, higher education share of all capital projects is even more pronounced than the national averages. Now, I would like to say, since we are state funded, that has state appropriations to our institutions, the 2.9% is kind of sad, but we can look at the brighter side and say that we this we still get a great part of the projects from the states other than transportation. Now, we can always make up, we have more than made up for that through the endowments, alumni contributions, and financial aid. So 2% didn't hurt us much. We raised the tuition, had raised tuition a little bit, but it didn't hurt us much. Now, one of the ways that we fund, one of the fundings for our school is through endowments. And I like to say is give a little bit of information on endowments and why sometimes they are risky if they're not appropriated right. Now, according to an article entitled "Why Are Endowments Large and Risky" by Thomas Gilbert and Chris Hindenburg, and this article says the donation flow to United States research universities and Bachelor colleges is large, making up almost 20% of their annual budgets. With these large donations, universities have accumulated substantial endowments, leading to an aggregate endowment value of nearly $500 billion. Endowments are also large at the university level, averaging 2 to 3 times the university's annual budget, with a maximum of about 15 times the annual budget. These endowments are heavily invested in risky assets, average about 75% of their assets in securities such as equities, hedge funds, real estate, private equity, and other alternatives. Across the universities, as the endowment size increases, the allocations to risky assets also tends to increase, although not much tolerably. Now, I like to say that it's good to have endowments, and there's nothing wrong with them being large, but it's risky when you allocate 75% of that endowment to risky investments. I don't care if it is things such as hedge funds, equities, real estate, uh, private equity. 75% is a large amount to delegate to risky investments. Now, we here at Edinburgh University, we only delegate 25%. So that cuts down the risk significantly. Many try to prepare for the future and want to delegate high, but you need to take one. I know you're supposed to have a projected future, but it shouldn't be large and risky. And we have made more than made up for that by not making a lot of large risk investment off endowments. Now, everything about our revenues is not bad. All presidents and a university are not doing bad. I have some examples of some of the characteristics of presidents that are doing good and have a good financial picture at their school. Now, according to an article entitled by Susan Pierce entitled "Exemplary Tales of Successful Presidents," she gave some examples in her article what some exemplary things they did and that helped maintain the stability in their finances at their university. And the article states, despite the different natures of their institutions, and in addition to raising money, each of these persons did all the following. Each significantly and immediately engaged their boards, saw them as partners, strategic partners, and benefit them from their moral and financial support. Each believed that their colleges were better than their reputation and better off than their new college and trustees recognized. Each was committed to listen to, but also was emanated by uh, how to add current problems and to their institutions and how to resolve them. Also, there are many of them believed in talking to the students, walking around in campus and just walking around, not just sitting up in the office. They just walk and talk with people and met people and talk about the problems and what people like. They didn't just or just keep stay in the office and just kept to themselves. I believe, as for me, in my opinion, I believe a president that engages faculty, staff, community, and all administration in the governance of the institution and the financial and governance of the institution is an exemplary president. In addition, I also believe that not only do they just have meetings inside buildings, but these presidents believe in just walking around campus and going out and meeting people and talking to them about our school and their particular schools, which that is a good characteristic. Now, in conclusion, I like to say that in order for Anywhere University to stay successful, we cannot just delegate all the responsibility of the institution just to the administration, just to the president, just to the trustees, just to the accountant office, or even to my office. Uh, it we all need to work together, students, faculty, administration, community, and alumni alike. Thank you very much. If we continue to do this, Anywhere University should always stay in and read unless something that we don't know about happens. And then if we get together as one team, we can work that out also. Thank you very much for listening today. Have a great day.